Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, first, let me say, Adrian Broner. I'm not going to get into whatever legal problems he's gotten himself into. Just suffice it to say, there's a video here online of me saying that Ashley Theophane is going to pose a big challenge to Broner. Right? I know Broner is talking about taking him out quickly and all this other stuff. You know, Broner, in my opinion, needs to worry about winning the fight. Right? Now, since I made that video, right, and I feel Ashley Theophane's a live underdog. Very live. Because I think Broner has a foot speed problem. He likes to linger in the pocket too much. I think Theophane is a guy who's fought people like Danny Garcia. Right? He's been training at the Mayweather gym. He's been in the ring with top-level talent. Right? And, of course, the Danny Garcia fight was razor close. Now, you're getting better than 10-to-1 odds right now, and Ashley Theophane, what you need to do is ask yourself, well, with all this legal problem in the background, is that going to help or hurt Broner's preparation? I think it's going to hurt his preparation. If you're looking for an upset special, keep an eye on that fight. Now, let's shift gears for a second. We know Amir Khan is about to fight Canelo. You know what? Amir Khan, to me, is another live underdog. Right? Canelo doesn't have anything remotely approaching Amir Khan's hand speed. Right? Amir Khan has some of the fastest hands in the entire sport. And forget the hand speed. Understand, Amir Khan is offensively blessed. Right? Didn't he have Marcus Maidana on the canvas off a body shot? Haven't there been fighters fighting Amir Khan who look completely like deer caught in headlights? Go back and look at the Zab Judah film. Understand, Zab Judah has blinding hand speed. He couldn't handle Amir Khan's foot speed in that fight. Right? So there, I like the smaller man. By the way, how much smaller is Amir Khan than Canelo? I know weight-wise he's smaller, right? But size-wise, really not so. And Amir Khan has a good jab. What I want people to do, too, is look at Amir Khan deconstruct Paulie Malignaggi. Right? Excellent boxer. Excellent boxer. Had a problem dealing with Khan's boxing. Right? I think that fight, if you're looking for an underdog play, I think that fight's worth a look. Khan over Canelo. Right? I'll give Canelo a puncher's chance in that fight. I'll hedge the play with Canelo by KO. Now let's talk about another intriguing fight. Not Kell Brook's next fight, which I think Kell Brook is going to win big. But now Kell Brook's talking about fighting Gennady Golovkin. Right? Let me say this. You know, I don't know who told people watching boxing today that weight classes are to be taken so seriously. Right? You know, you hear about guys moving up one weight class, and everyone's like, oh my God, what's Amir Khan doing? You know, Amir Khan's going to get killed. Right? Understand, this is a sport where Stanley Kitchell, middleweight champion, took on a great heavyweight champion, Jack Johnson, and dropped him. By the way, for those keeping track, understand that he did better against Jack Johnson than Jeffries did in the Great White Hope fight. Think about that one. Right? Middleweight champ comes in, hits Jack Johnson, drops him. Right? Let's talk about another fight. Light heavyweight champion, Billy Cobb. Right? If you're into history and you're looking at the Joe Louis story, another great champion. Right? We're talking about great champions, right? If you're talking about the Joe Louis reign at heavyweight, the Billy Conn fight is one of the major fights in Joe Louis's career. It's one of the few times Joe Louis gets tested while he has the title, right? The first Schmeling fights before Louis has the title. Well, all I could say is, when you're the smaller man, sometimes you have the hand speed advantage. Sometimes you have the agility advantage, right? You're just more coordinated. You're getting in and out of situations more faster than the big slugger, right? There have been other guys who have jumped weight classes. Tomas Ademic, who's still fighting, used to fight at 175, folks. Now he's up at heavyweight, right? Not just Roy Jones, but James Toney. Both jumped up to heavyweight and won the title, right? Henry Armstrong at one point, when the sport had 8 weight classes, was the champion of 3 of them, right? Go back and look at the Ray Robinson record. Understand, Ray fought several fights. That infamous, Raging Bull fight with Jake LaMotta, his first loss, where the other guy outweighed him by several pounds. Right? Now, Kell Brook is talking about Golovkin. I personally think that's a fascinating fight. Here's the problem Kell Brook has, and I don't believe Amir Khan has this problem. I think that fight's a tough fight for Kell Brook. Neither Kell Brook nor Golovkin likes to fight inside. You might remember the first Carson Jones-Kell Brook fight, where Carson Jones kept coming in. Eventually it wore down Kell Brook, didn't it? Carson Jones landed some punches. Let's fast forward to a little bit of a more controversial fight, the Shawn Porter-Kell Brook fight. Shawn Porter keeps jumping in. Kell Brook keeps grabbing him. Right? Kell Brook's inside game, quite frankly, reminds me of Vladimir Klitschko's inside game. Right? You jump in on him, it's a hug fest, right? It's like, as Thomas Hearns once said about how he hugged a guy. He said, I hugged him as if he was my woman. Right? Kell Brook hugs Shawn Porter so much, you're looking at the fight saying, wow, I didn't know these guys were this close. Well, all I'm saying is, what that means is Kell Brook is going to be mid-range to long-range, isn't he? Right? Now, if you're going to fight Golovkin, where don't you want to be? In my opinion, you don't want to be mid-range to long-range. Right? The best film I found of an opponent against Golovkin is Kasim Uma. And Kasim Uma comes right here. Right? He's up close on Golovkin. Golovkin is a guy who doesn't like to fight inside. Right? That's where you give him problems. If you're outside and it's a shootout, good luck with that. Golovkin, simply put, is one of the hardest punchers pound for pound in boxing. Understand, Golovkin is two-handed. Right? Let me make the case for Kell Brook, though. Right? The fight's not a joke by any stretch of the imagination. Right? Kell Brook is big for 147. He's a big welter. Kell Brook throws some of the shortest power shots I have seen in boxing today. Right? He has built-in leverage. The hand speed gap between he and Golovkin is gonna be mammoth. Right? It's gonna be huge. Kell Brook has very fast hands. Let me say this too. Kell Brook was attacked in the legs with a machete a while back. I haven't seen the drop-off in Kell Brook's foot speed. Right? He's not anchored to the pocket. The machete attack didn't slow him down like I thought it might. So, let me say this. I would expect a stoppage in the fight. Something would happen. Right? Golovkin, when you're in Golovkin's sweet spot, good luck surviving the fight. The key, though, is Kell Brook is so much faster than Golovkin. Golovkin throws punches on a curve. Right? Golovkin doesn't throw straight punches. Kell Brook does. Right now, Golovkin has an excellent jab, but Kell Brook's not going to linger in the pocket like David Lemieux. I get the feeling Kell Brook might be able to duck out of the way of the jab and do his hard work. So the bet I'd recommend there, I would expect the KO. If I had one bet to make, if I had to take one guy to win the fight, I'd take Golovkin. But if I had a chance at a betting portfolio, I'd take the underdog, Kell Brook, to win the fight, hedged with Golovkin by KO. The logic is simply, I'm going to get big odds on the smaller fighter to win the fight. I do believe Kell Brook has an outside shot of stopping Golovkin. Because if these two guys throw punches at the same time, Kell Brook's going to get there a day early. Right? Hand speed matters. It's not all about the size of the guy. It's about the speed. It's about the agility. It's about being able to get in and out of situations. Right? I do think somebody gets knocked out in this fight. I just don't know who it is. I feel that boxing fans need to get over the fact that this would be a welterweight against a middleweight. Right? What I want people to do is to look at history. You're going to find that guys have jumped weights several times. Guys have held multiple titles in the past at the same time, right? You have champions right now who've held titles in the higher weight class in the past. Adrian Broner comes to mind, right? Don't laugh at that fight. Golovkin doesn't have the speed, the agility, the coordination of Kell Brook. I'll agree, since Kell Brook doesn't fight inside that well, he'd be out there in the target range for Golovkin. The question, though, is whether Golovkin would be able to land. Another question in Golovkin fights, right? You look at the Golovkin-Matthew Macklin fight. You look at the Golovkin-Daniel Gill fight, where suddenly these warrior guys he's fighting are backing away, kind of timid and stuff like that. A big question is whether Kell Brook has the mental toughness not to get overwhelmed by the situation, right? Because he would be in the ring with the biggest man he's faced, right? 2 weight classes up. Now, certain guys have the mindset. Ray Leonard has the mindset of, hey, I'm fighting not just Marvin Hagler, I'm fighting Donnie Lalonde, the light heavyweight champion. And Ray is in there knowing that he has the hand speed advantage, and he's not rattled by the situation, right? The Hagler fight, that's after Ray'd been out of the ring for years. He comes back against one of boxing's very best, and he's focused, right? Big part of boxing, I'd say most of boxing, is the mental side, right? If Kell Brook is in there, and he gets hit in the chest with some big Golovkin punch, is he going to say, this dude's too big for me, let me find a spot on this canvas to lay down, let me end this, let me pick up my paycheck? Is he going to go there and think to himself, you know what, I'll just say the guy was too big for me, I still have my welterweight title? Or is he going to be the warrior guy who's in the ring and says, look, this guy just hit me in the chest, or this guy knocked me down, I still don't think this guy has the hand speed to deal with me, right? I still think if I get close enough and throw a combination, he won't know how to deal with it. Keep in mind, ask yourself, we saw Kell Brook grabbing Sean Porter. What's the Golovkin fight where he gets hurt and he has to hold on to survive the round? Are you sure that Golovkin has survival skills? To sum up, I think Kell Brook against Golovkin is a real fight. Let me throw a wrinkle out there too. You know, you have a lot of light heavyweights right now. As I said, in the past, Billy Conn fought Joe Louis, right? You have a lot of light heavyweights out there right now who have skills, who can fight inside, who are refined boxers, right? I'm looking at the heavyweight division, and I'm seeing guys who, in my opinion, can't fight inside, like Deontay Wilder. I know I pick on Wilder a lot. He's really more of a poster child. Why don't I add Charles Martin? Right? I don't understand. Now, I agree. It's easy for me from the comfort of this chair, from the safety of this room, to put another man's life at risk. Okay, fine. But if you're an Andre Ward, and if you want to be great, right, which is different than wanting an unbeaten record, right? If you want to be great, and you see a heavyweight champion with a good left hook, a great long right hand, very little inside game. You see guys like Artur Szpilka, forget the judges' scorecards, hanging around and quite frankly outboxing Deontay Wilder for several of those rounds, right? I personally thought Szpilka won several of those rounds. And you're looking at Artur Szpilka and you're thinking, Szpilka is a decent fighter. He's not a great fighter. He's not on my short list of guys with great boxing skills, right? And you see him giving, Deontay Wilder all he can handle for several rounds, right? That fight makes it into the later rounds, right? If you're a faster light heavyweight with better skills, particularly inside, where you can just duck under that big jab, come in and do work on the guy's rib cage, and you understand a David versus Goliath optic, right? The visual would dazzle judges. It would dazzle fans, right? Because no one roots for Goliath. Then why not do what Roy Jones did, what James Toney did, and take a stab at the heavyweight champion, right? I'm not saying take a stab at Tyson Fury. I'm not saying hop in the ring with, Vladimir Klitschko. No, I'm saying these guys, right? I think there's an opening there for someone who's bold, who has looked at film and realizes, hey, if you take away Wilder's right hand, does he have enough to keep up with an Andre Ward? For everyone who says, hey, that's crazy, you wouldn't have enough power to hurt him. You had a far better heavyweight champion than Deontay Wilder. Jack Johnson literally got decked by Stanley Kitchell. I know there's a lot of folklore about that fight, right? I'm sorry, I have a hard time believing in fix and frame and all this other stuff when Kitchell ends up getting several of his teeth knocked out, right? My point to you, though, is if there's a skill gap, if the other guy is green, and you heard Lennox Lewis say he would take Povetkin over Deontay Wilder, right? If you know how to fight small and you realize the other guy is too big and too upright, Charles Martin, tall guy, big, upright, a little stiff. When's the last time you saw Anthony Joshua get low, bend at the waist, right? All I'm saying is there are opportunities there for guys outside of the heavyweight division, right? Bernard Hopkins occasionally challenges heavyweights to fights. Understand, there's a reason. Anyway, to sum up, Kell Brook, Golovkin, take that fight seriously. The hand speed gap, the foot speed gap, Kell Brook's power makes that fight viable for him. The bet I'd recommend is Kell Brook to win the fight, just for an odds play. Hedge with Golovkin by KO. I do think Golovkin wins that fight by KO. Let's just say, though, that if Kell Brook gets inside and opens up, I'm not sure if Golovkin has the defense to deal with that. Count me among those who's intrigued by Kell Brook's recent interview in which he says he wants to fight the middleweight champ. Let me add this, too. The premise of this video is that the fight takes place at 160, right? Just to be blunt, I'm not interested in the fight if I'm hearing about catch weights, right? I don't want to hear about Golovkin missing meals to fight at 155 and all this other stuff, right? If you want to challenge the middleweight champion for his title, then I believe you owe it to all of us to fight at middleweight. Period. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. Leave your comments for me here online. Visit us at gamblersadvisory.com. Thanks for stopping by.